guys, Strider here. Today we're going to be looking at some Russian knives. If you really like knives and you don't want to spend a lot of money for them, you're going to enjoy this video. Now my dad's going to take over the video. I'll see you in a little bit.
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. As you saw, my son is very excited to be here as well. Aren't you excited?
Yeah.
He's very, very excited. He might be more excited than I am. But one of the things that I always get excited about is when I get a package in from Russia from Cultrotech. And today, we're going to be taking a look at 3 knives by Cultrotech. And really, all 3 are very, very different than what they typically make. Like the chest is going to be the least expensive flipper that they, actually least expensive knife that they have ever offered. And there's going to be reasons for that, and we're going to get into that when the time comes. You're also going to be looking at something that they've never offered before, which are slip joints. And I'm pretty sure, out of all 3 knives sitting here, this is probably my son's favorite, isn't it?
Yeah.
You like all the colors?
Yes.
Okay. So I think you guys are going to like the colors as well. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. And then there's going to be this wee little guy right here, a little teeny tiny slip joint. So we're going to have 2 slip joints, something that I've only ever done once on this channel. I really don't review slip joints, but these were unique and I think different enough for people to become interested in them. I'm not entirely certain what your uses are going to be for them because as far as slip joints go, this is a really, really large slip joint. And this one, I have a little bit of a hard time getting the blade open. There's a very tiny nail nick in it, so it's not quite as practical as other ones that I've played with. And when it comes to the flipper, well, this is going to be probably one of the most divisive knives that I've brought out in quite a long time. Because what they're trying to do is hit a low price point. And sometimes when you try to go and hit a low price point, when the only thing you've ever done is super premium, very, very high quality stuff, you might not know the corners to cut, and you might end up with something that's a little bit different than what a lot of people might be expecting. So I think this one might be a little bit controversial, but I still think it's going to have a wide audience. As far as when I talked to Max about this, he said that these have been selling extraordinarily well in all of the Russian and European markets that they've been offering it in. So if it's been popular there, I'm sure it's going to be popular here. But I really do want to get into why. There are things about it that I like and things about it that I'm not really quite sold on yet. And if anybody can tell you how picky I am about things, it's this little guy right here. Am I picky?
I guess so.
Yeah, I think so. All right, guys. So right now we're going to end this intro. I do want to remind you, please do like and subscribe and all that stuff that YouTube makes me say because they won't bother to show my videos to anybody unless you're subscribed and you like and you make comments and all that stuff. And don't forget also, if you want to support the channel, you can join my Patreon right down here. And not only do you get a chance to do something good and support the channel and allow me to get cool stuff like this all the time, but you're also going to be automatically entered every single time I do a giveaway, which means you get cool free stuff that certainly isn't cheap. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, now we're going to go down to the tabletop. We're going to take a look at each of these 3 in depth, up close, and in person, and see how you feel about them. All right, let's go ahead and dive deep into these. So I've got the chest out here, and then I have the two slip joints. If you're wondering why I have this little tin out here, it's because the hollowgrind.com is going to be your US-based resource, your US-based retailer to pick up any Cultrotech knives that you're interested in, whether it be the full customs or mid-techs or the bronze line here. They're going to be your best resource for them. So if you want to ask questions or anything like that, you can always go to Instagram, go over and find the Hollow Grind's Instagram, and I'll try to remember to put it up on the screen here. And just ask for Dave and start talking to Dave and get some questions and answers and all that kind of good shit. And pretty cool little swag package they send you here, because you're gonna need band-aids and stuff like that when you have a knife as sharp as these Cultrotechs are. Now, before I get into the knives, I'll show you very briefly what the packaging looks like on the bronze line. We'll talk about what the bronze line is and then detail each of the individual knives. So on the bronze line, you get this paper covered box, or paper box, I should say. It's not covered. You open it up, and inside of here, this is not just like a little paper cover. This is also going to be your COA, and this one is for the little guy right here, the B022 slip joint, and it gives you an idea of what the blade steel is, what the hardness is, all that kind of good stuff. And then a very simple foam insert, laser cut. I'm assuming laser cut, but cut for the individual knives. Okay, packaging out of the way. Let's go ahead and get these knives out here and show you what they are all about and why they are perhaps priced in the way that they are. It's funny, usually before I sit down and do a video like this, I try to keep my fingernails a little bit trim, but I really needed to keep my fingernails to get into the teeny tiny, almost non-existent nail nick in the smaller slip joint. So then today I can finally cut my damn fingernails. All right, so what is the bronze line? Basically, you have 3 different lines of knives that you can purchase from Cultrotech. The gold line, which is knives on washers that are very, very, very high end. They're all individually hand finished, hand assembled, handmade. The silver, and they're very expensive. You're starting at around $2,000 and going way, way up, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. The silver line, which is going to be their mid-tech / semi-custom with knives that are on bearings. And those could be anywhere from, I'd say, low end is about $1,500. Geez, I'm trying to think. It was around $1,200 for the last one that I had reviewed. And then they go up right around $2,000 on the high end. And then we have this, which is the bronze line. Basically, the bronze line is their budget segment. So they're not going to be using titanium. They're not going to be doing mirror polished finishes on the blades, which are all done by hand, by the way. And they're going to be using a different bearing system. But what they're doing, their whole idea is to keep the performance of their knives, which they're very, 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 very proud about their in-house heat treatment. And that remains the same even on the bronze line. So they're making a focus on the cutting performance. So I'm going to go ahead and get these 2 out of the way, and we're going to start with the one that I believe most of you are primarily interested in when you clicked on this video. This is the chest. Now, the chest was also, and may still be offered, in the silver line. So if you get into the silver line chest, it's a $2,500 knife going up from there. So how do they take that knife and make an affordable version that people will say, oh, that's a price I can afford? Well, they're making these available between $600 and $700, generally around $600. Now, $600, let's be clear, is still a lot of money for a folding knife. However, it is a far, far cry from what Cultrotech typically prices their knives at. And what I think that, I honestly think that they struggle a little bit with trying to figure out what corners to cut in which to bring the price down that low, and we will be discussing that further down in the video. As you see, the action is utterly ridiculous. This is not a heavy blade, by the way, and I'm going to weigh the knife for you, but the blade weighs very, very little, so it's not like we're talking about the inertia of a scary, heavy blade that's dropping down. I'm sorry, not the washers, but these bearings work exceptionally well. It is a crazy, smooth, and very, very fast action. So what you're getting is about a 3.9-inch blade. The thickness behind the edge, it is ridiculous, and that's why Cultrotech makes such good cutters. 11 thousandths of an inch behind that edge. So it is very, very thin. So it's going to be an exceptional slicer. That's what this knife really is designed primarily to do. The overall length is 9.2 inches. The handle material, instead of being titanium like a typical Cultrotech, this is done in a D16T, which I believe is a Russian equivalent to 6061 aluminum, but it's D16T hard anodized aluminum. So it's going to be much more lightweight than if it were titanium, and you're going to feel that. And some of you might feel that it feels kind of cheap because it doesn't have, the typical heft that a titanium knife does. Obviously, everybody uses titanium because it's lighter weight than steel. However, it's still got a good heft to it, especially when it's nice and thick. You've got an LMAX blade that's brought up with their own heat treat, which I believe is marked right back here. There we go. The Yanhook heat treat, which is done at 63.5 Rockwell. This is a very, 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 very hard edge, hard blade. It's going to hold an edge for a good long time. You shouldn't have to worry very much about having to touch up that edge very often. So good on them for doing that. I'm glad they're keeping that very precise and very expensive internal heat treat process on this lower price range of knives. You've got an inset tab lock, which is made of titanium that does have a steel insert. So they're further reducing weight by giving you the titanium lock. And then they're adding to the performance by having a steel insert on that titanium lock. So it's steel on steel lockup. And inside are radial thrust bearings. What do radial thrust bearings look like? They look like this. Yeah. So quite a bit different than what they normally make, but I got to tell you, the action is crazy. If you want to buy a flipper based solely on the action and its ability to cut extraordinarily well and have a blade steel that's going to hold an edge for a good long time, you are absolutely going to want to look into this knife. You're really, really going to appreciate it for that. You've got a titanium custom milled pocket clip, which is really nicely done, great machining. And there's really great machining on the aluminum frame as well. You see all the ridges that are done in here very, very nicely. Nice milled cutouts there in the frame. It really gives it a nice look. Then you have the titanium pivot and the titanium collar around the lanyard hole. It's actually a titanium tube. You know what? I want to say titanium because of the way that it's finished, but they list all their hardware on the knife as stainless steel. So I'm going to correct myself on that, and I'm going to say that the pivot and the thong tube here are going to be in stainless steel, not in titanium. So that's a very quick and brief look at the chest. I want to go to each of the slip joints, and then we're going to go in and talk more in detail about each individual knife. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention this does have a ceramic detent, and the detent is kind of a medium detent, so it's got just enough strength so that you can feel it break, and it flips. Like I said, it flips phenomenally well. If you want a big, very big but very lightweight flipper that has incredible action and cuts very well. You're really going to love that. Now let's talk about the larger of the two slip joints, and that is this bad boy right here. This is the Slipjoint Slim, and the execution for this particular one is B030. That's the model number they put on this, and that is for the multicolor micarta inlays. The micarta is actually made by a company called Crazy Fiber, and I've worked with a couple of their materials in the past, and they're very, 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 very nice. All right, so we'll get that open. I really like this. I like how on the spring lock here you've got the jimping. It's not very strong jimping. Like it's almost ineffective. But it has a kind of a nice look to it. I don't know, it kind of breaks it up a little bit. So what we're looking at here, let's get the camera back in focus. It is 8.85 inches in overall length with a 3.9 inch blade with a very pronounced finger choil. Very, very easy to get up in there. Elmax blade steel at 65 Rockwell. Another hardened anodized aluminum frame. It is on washers, and they're only going to be making a maximum of 100 of each of these executions. So if you find an inlay version that you really like, I like this multicolor the most personally. There are only going to be 100 of each of these that are going to be offered. These are $350. Now, for me personally, I don't see a need for a large slip joint. I mean, I live in the U.S., so we're allowed to have locking knives. So I generally don't look at slip joints at all, particularly one this large. If you live outside of the U.S. or you live in an area where there are really strict knife restrictions, but you're allowed to have slip joints, this is probably a really good way to go because you still have a large, formidable knife that's going to cut exceedingly well, and it's very, very slim and easy to carry. So that is the larger of the two slip joints. And now for the little guy. This one I have almost no information on. I apologize to you for that because there really isn't any information online about this particular knife. Not even really much on Cultrotech's own Instagram. But here is a good look at it. As you see, significantly smaller. And we're going to weigh each of these as well. So let's go ahead and start with that. Let's break down the weight of each of these. Then we're going to talk about them individually. The chest is only 4.2 ounces. To keep that in mind, a titanium frame lock in a smaller overall size, 5.3 ounces. 5.3 ounces. And even this little guy, which a lot of you own after I did the review on these, because they're so affordable and so awesome, the QSP Penguin, that is a titanium frame lock that is significantly smaller, and that's 3.2 ounces. Again, 4.2. So it's only a little bit heavier than this, and a far cry from either one of the more comparable size knives. The weight on the Slipjoint Slim, only 2.5 ounces. That's pretty damn awesome. Really, really easy to carry that. And then the little baby, 1.3 ounces. You won't even know that's sitting down in your pocket, man. That is really, really, really lightweight. All right, so let's talk about the chest first as we get into more detailed stuff, what I like, what I don't like. I do like the finish. If you're not going to get the high-end hand-rubbed satin or hand-mirrored blades that you see on the more expensive Cultrotechs, this is a really great way to go. Really good. Now, what they're actually doing, they are actually polishing the blade to a certain degree, and then they're tumbling them. So you're getting a really good working finish, one that you're not going to mind getting a few natural marks and scratches on because the other stone wash is going to hide it pretty well. There is the Cultrotech marking, and each one is individually numbered. That's kind of nice. There's the unique pivot hardware. I think that looks really handsome. Very rugged, very tough looking. You have almost a full back spacer. I'm going to call that full back spacer because that is all the way to the very, very end. Again, really nice sculpting, really nice milling, clean work all the way around. There is your lanyard tube. Get a look in here at the inset tab lock. And you can see the hardware there that's holding in the steel insert. And if you look right up there, you'll see the steel insert on the titanium inset lock. Really good jimping there on the flipper tab. Your finger's not going to slip off. There, once again, is the marking for the heat treat. There's a good look at the finish of the blade. I really like the subtle swedge that's on there as well. And there's that mirror polished edge. They always do a mirror polished edge. They're very, very sharp. There's your pocket clip. By the way, a pocket clip works really well, even in jeans. It's easy to get over the lip of your jeans pocket. Doesn't really feel like it's going to be a struggle. All right, so what do I think overall of the chest? I'm a bit biased here. I'm a huge fan of Cultrotech knives. You guys have seen a number of videos from me on it, from the Svarn 2 to the Urs and to the I'm blanking on the name of the last one, the Sirius. And the Sirius was the least expensive that had been made up until this point. And I have really enjoyed them all. They always have a super premium feel. They always have top-notch quality. The machine work is just masterfully done. Their edges are phenomenal. Their blade finishes are phenomenal. They really can do no wrong. Now we get to the bronze line. I'm not a fan of the aluminum. It's not just how it feels, because it's going to end up being very blade heavy. It's going to feel very, very lightweight in the hand, almost like it's imbalanced. Well, not almost, it is imbalanced. I don't like the sound. And I know that sounds really weird, but listen. Just from handling it, you can hear this hollowness. And now listen to it as it opens. And it hits my damn tripod. Really? Let's try that again. Let's listen to it as it opens. Now listen to it as it closes. And closing again. There's something about that sound. It almost sounds like you're dragging something across cardboard. And I can't put my finger on it. I can't help but the way that it makes me feel, that it just doesn't feel, I mean, even in the same arena as a typical Cultrotech. But again, you're making a tremendous price drop. You're dropping from well over $2,000, $2,500 plus, down to $600. And when you look at it through that lens, you should be okay with it. You should go, okay, I don't expect all these premium features that I would get in a $2,500 knife for $600. A lot has to change. But for those of you that do not collect knives in that price range, those of you that do not collect Cultrotech knives and don't understand that premium feel, I mean, it's like sliding into the driver's seat of a Bugatti or a Pagani. It is that high end. Now you're getting into a Mazda. And I'm not exaggerating on that. It is that big of a difference. For those that are only buying lesser expensive knives and haven't experienced those higher end, you're going to look at this and go, there's no way this is worth $600 to me. Because I can spend under $300 and get something like a Tuya Hive 2. Or, I mean, what were the Varga VBRs in the non-Damasteel? It was under $400. It was like $3 something. And in the Damasteel version here, still less than the cost of this. And these both feel very, very premium. You're getting exceptional action. You're getting hand rub finishes or mirror polish finishes with the Damascus etch. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck. Now, I'm not saying you can always make that comparison because those really are two standouts in value. However, those that are typical to spend less are going to research and search out these anomalies, these greater values. And it's hard to put it up against this at $600. If this was $350, $375, I'd be jumping off the bar stool screaming about what a great deal it is. If it was around $400, I'd still say it's a damn solid knife. Up to $500, I'd be like, okay, maybe do some, comparison shopping, but it's still a good solid knife. At $600 and a little bit more, as I mentioned, if you want a large flipper that has an exceptional action, that has an exceptional heat treat, that has a phenomenal edge, mirror polished edge with a lot of thinness behind that edge for really capable slicing, I think that you're going to like this a lot. But for those of you that are maybe less technical and you just want another great flipper to add to your collection, you might have a hard time with the price. But does that make it an unworthy knife? No, I think it's a fantastic knife. And I think once you've got it in your hand, you'll really enjoy it. Once you get past the way that feels and sounds. And the only other thing that I'd say about it, I wish that this was cut away more so you could access the lock from the side instead of going down and in. This is the same thing, by the way. I'm not picking on Cultrotech. This is the same thing. If you go back to my RJ Martin Q36 videos, you're talking $2,500 and up knives, custom-made knives that are handmade. I had the same complaint. When you have a liner lock or a bolster lock or anything where the lock is captive in between these two areas and not open, and you can't access it from the side and you have to go down and in, you're going to pinch your skin right in there as you unlock it. You're going to feel some sharpness around these edges, and that does bother me. But again, for this price point, to have the same affliction as a $2,500 handmade custom, I'm just letting you know I'm not being biased here. It's just the way that I feel. But again, is it a solid knife? Shit, yeah. Is it going to be really, really useful? Shit, yeah. Is it well designed and thought out? Shit, yeah. Just, if that could be titanium at this price, if this aluminum frame could be titanium at $600, I wouldn't have a single complaint. So there's my thoughts on the chest. Now getting into this really, really large slip joint. As I mentioned, I'm biased. I don't have a love for slip joints. I have no real appreciation for them. This would be a great boot knife, though, if it had a pocket clip. Man, that slim little bastard would just slide right into your boot and completely disappear. Now, it will do that in your pocket. You put this in your pocket, you're not even really going to know it's there. Although it is long. It is very, very large. If you're looking for a real, knife that really disappears, you get the little bad boy right there. But the full size at nearly a 4-inch blade, just a hair under a 4-inch blade, you've got a lot of knife here in a very, very slim profile. That's going to be very, very easy to carry. Same finish on the blade, same perfectly polished, mirror polished edge. Again, very, very thin behind the edge. I think it's about the same. It's about 10 or 11 thousandths behind the edge. It is extremely slim. These are all flat ground. And I called this an inlay earlier, and it's really not. It's an onlay. It's laying on the actual handle material. But you get what I mean. Nice looking hardware. I like the fact that it's matching to the finish of the blade. You've got a very large lanyard opening. And honestly, I would be putting a lanyard on this if I carried this in the pocket, because I don't like things just floating around in my pocket, and I want to be able to get it out pretty quickly. So I'd probably put a lanyard on there if it were me. I like the large pronounced finger choil. Makes it very comfortable in the hand. And, it's lightweight. Got a nice area to put your thumb on right there so you're not pushing on the blade. Remember, it doesn't lock. It's a slip joint. So you're able to apply pressure there and keep it from bending very, very easily. or not bending, but closing very easily. So again, well thought out. And for those of you that live in a highly restrictive area and you can't have a locking folding knife, this is going to be a phenomenal way to go. I live in the U.S. I live in Texas. I mean, we can carry katanas out in the open if we want to. So it's not a benefit for me, but I still think it's a really nice concept, and it's a very handsome looking knife. I like the multicolor micarta against the black anodized aluminum frame. I like the fact that it's just a simple, easy to use knife. I always have a little bit of a thing with slip joints. I'm always afraid of doing something where I'm going to drop that blade and it's just going to get sucked in and cut my finger off or something. It's not really, it's a paranoia that's not justified, but that's my thought on slip joints. Now the little guy, I'm going to make one major complaint here. Number one, there's no nail nick on this side of the blade at all, and it's on this side. And it took me about a minute when I unpackaged this to find it, because you don't see it. It needs to be a little more defined and a little deeper. It's not that easy to grasp. As I mentioned, I had to keep my fingernails long to be able to do this video, and it still wants to slide off. So for me, I would do that a little bit better. Shape of the frame is really nice. Reminds me of a GTC a little bit. I like the shape of the frame. I like the milling. Again, it's an aluminum frame on washers, stainless steel hardware. Great finish on the blade for an inexpensive working knife. This would be a great knife if you have younger children, preteen children. You want to kind of get them into carrying a knife on a regular basis, but you don't want to give them a flipper or something that you think might be a little bit more dangerous. This is a great little pocket knife. Really nice small pocket knife. This will fit into your watch pocket on your jeans, by the way, and sit there comfortably. But yeah, there's almost no room to grasp that blade. So you can't just grab at it. You have to find that nail nick, and you have to really get in there and get it before you can open it up. And I have found other slip joints that were easier to open than this one, to be perfectly honest. Is it well made? Yeah, I think it's super slick, super cool. I just wish it was a little bit easier to open. But as far as being lightweight, easy to carry, that sort of thing, it's going to be a great knife for that. So here are all three once again side by side. Contact Dave over at thehollowgrind.com if you want to grab one of these for yourself, or if you want to order a silver line or gold line, a higher end Cultrotech. He is your source for those Russian-made beauties, and I will still stand behind those as being some of the finest knives available in the knife world, hands down, period, at any price. They are truly phenomenal, and Maxim, the owner and creator of all these knives, has really carved out a wonderful niche in that high-end market. I feel they are every bit as good as the comparably priced Shirogorovs, and even nicer in some ways, with much more complex machining on most of their models. They're phenomenal. Bronze Line doesn't speak to my soul. They're not exactly what I'm looking for in these three. I still think they're well made. And I think for those that are shopping on a budget, you're going to be very well served by checking these out. But again, for me, I would have to say if that was titanium on the chest, I'd be all in. To get a titanium chest, to spend $2,500, that's a huge leap. That's an enormous leap in price. And most collectors are not going to be able to do that. So if you like the look of the chest, you like a large flipper, you want it to be fast, you want it to be lightweight, you want it to be stupid, ridiculously sharp, and hold that edge for a good long time, then this really is going to be a good way for you to go. That's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for joining me as always. And thank you for allowing my cute little boy to come out here and open the video and share his thoughts with you guys. And maybe we'll do that again in the future. I love spending as much time with him as I possibly can. So including him in my little YouTube thing, that'll be a lot of fun too. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next video.